Welcome to Baker Dave Presents. We're here on Temple University's campus in my bakery at Johnson & Hardwick. This is a working bakery. We make desserts for the entire campus, for all the retail outlets, for catering, for the board operation out front, servicing, I'm going to guess, 15,000 to 20,000 students a day. Chances are you've eaten something that I've made at some point in your life here at Temple. Okay, so let's remember that we're here in an active kitchen. You're going to hear different noises. You're going to see people possibly walk by. The goal of the show is to give you, the audience, a chance to get to know people in a different setting. You're going to get to meet different guests throughout the season that are going to share with us, with me and with you, their recipes and their stories, hopefully about those recipes or whatever we happen to talk about. Today, we have a special guest. Coach Matt Rhule is going to join us shortly to talk about his grandmother's Christmas cookie recipe. Welcome back to Baker Dave Presents. Today we have Coach Matt Rhule here, joining us today. He's bringing his grandmother's recipe, Italian grandmother.
Yeah,
This will be very exciting. I enjoy learning new recipes, especially from grandmothers. Why don't you tell me a little bit about it, a little bit about the history of this?
Well, this recipe was passed down from my grandmother to my mother and now to my wife, Julie. But my grandmother, Francesca Licciarelli Pavia Leone, from Calabria, Italy, came over and settled in just outside Altoona, Johnstown, a little clay town called Pat. And so
very cool.
Our whole lives, these are Christmas cookies that you can't talk her into making any other time of the year. They're only at Christmas time.
You never can, right?
No matter how much she loves it. And they're one of many, many cookies that she would make, but all the grandkids, this was our favorite. This was the one we were raised on. So this recipe is my mother's version of it. My grandmother had a little bit of brandy in it. There were some other things that I don't know if it's okay to give the kids these days, but they gave it to us back then. So
I think it's fine. When your grandmother made this, she measured everything out exactly as we're going to today?
Nah, I think she just
That's kind of what I thought.
Yeah, I don't remember any measuring cups in her kitchen. So
I remember as a kid trying to get a recipe from my grandmother, and I had to physically go to her house. She had to walk me through the process, show me exactly. Even then, I don't think it was exactly right. I think this is great because, to me, as a baker, obviously, this is how you pass stuff down from generation to generation. You know, I mean, I'm sure her grandmother made these same cookies too. You know, I mean, this is better than a photograph as far as I can tell, right?
That sure is.
It's got it involves more senses. You get to taste it and see it and smell it.
Yeah.
Excellent. Let's get to work then. Why don't you show me exactly how this recipe works for us?
Okay, so this is, as I said, the brandy's not in this specific recipe. So this is the.
I'll add that when I make it at home.
Yeah, this is the tempered down recipe. But basically, all the ingredients we're going to take and they can be mixed by hand. You know, we're just going to put them all in a bowl. There is no processing to it. So we have 2/3 of a cup of butter. This butter's a little bit soft, so we don't have to mix it. We have a cup of sugar, and that's just the real thing. 1 egg. Then we have a half a cup of cocoa. So then we're going to take 1/3 of a cup of milk. Now we're going to go to 1 3/4 cup of flour. And so what we did was there's a little bit of vanilla in there. There's about a teaspoon of vanilla that just went ahead
tossed it right
threw in the milk.
That makes sense.
Right. And then finally we have about a half a teaspoon of baking soda and half a teaspoon of salt.
Excellent.
So those are all the ingredients. We're just going to take these ingredients and dump them on in and get to mixing. You're going to put me to work today.
Yeah, that's right. So. Let's see how let's see this go down.
All right. So
you're not afraid to get dirty, are you?
Never afraid to get dirty. Just afraid to make a bad cookie. If I make a bad cookie, I feel like my grandmother
I
would
won't tell you.
So I'll take the milk.
Now, what's great about this too is because, like you said, with butter being soft, you can actually mix this by hand, and it doesn't matter what order you put these ingredients in. Typically, when you make cookies, you would start with the butter and sugar, and you would cream them if the butter's cold, and the sugar will actually break the butter down, so that makes that a little bit easier for you. So if you are using cold butter, that's what I would suggest doing.
That's a great coaching point right there.
A coaching point?
Yeah, well, that's all life is.
Perfect.
Getting coached from one thing to the next. All right, so I'm going to take that mixing bowl, I think this is the one part of the recipe, any cooking that my grandmother would ever let someone else help her with. You could actually maybe give her a little bit of muscle, but that's all she would let you do.
Right? Now, as you see this starting to come together, I think it's about time you actually could just go in there with your hands. I'm sure your grandmother just went at it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
all right with you?
That's what I'm guessing. If I were making it at home, I would just go in there and start mixing,
There we go.
start kneading it, so you really get that mix in good, right?
Yep. The smell starts to bring back. That's the one thing about making cookies or any recipe, especially one passed down from your family, is besides just the taste and the textures, it brings you back a little bit of some memories and some
Licking the batter.
That's it.
And, yeah.
Waiting in line for trying to fight my older cousins to be the first one to get it.
Oh yeah, because you had to get it right out of the oven, right?
There's no question.
But typically, like I will tell you this, I've noticed, especially with Italian grandmothers, like the cookies, that's their thing.
That's it.
I for years, I think I've eaten every cookie there is, and there's always an Italian grandmother that's got a cookie I've never heard of. I've never actually eaten this cookie before.
Well, the one thing is, like, since coming to Philadelphia over the last however many years, going down to South Philly, to South Street,
Right.
to Passaic, and even around Christmas time, going, because the Italians, we have the Feast of the Seven Fishes, over,
Right.
over Christmas time. I've never found this cookie. A lot of the other cookies that my grandmother made, I would find those, and even Easter, the Easter bread, you'll find those things in different Italian bakeries, but I've never found this cookie
Which makes it a little more special for you,
no
right?
question, yeah. But the nice thing about my grandmother is when she taught it to my mother, then to my wife, she taught them the actual recipe. Some recipes have a way of getting passed down the wrong way, so
Yeah.
that they're not, so no one learns of it. But my family has it. So we're starting to get to the point now where things look pretty mixed. And what do you think? Keep going.
I think it looks pretty good. You definitely don't want to over-mix cookies for the most part. They tend to get tough. At this point, I would assume that we're going to chill it.
Yeah, we're going to go ahead and
So
chill
it'll be
it.
easier to work with.
That's it.
So you would wrap this up in a saran wrap and put that off in the fridge. So we're getting ready to form the cookies.
Yep.
What temperature do we want to put these cookies in?
We want the oven at about 400 degrees.
Excellent. I don't know if you noticed, but my oven's a little bigger than your oven. Not to brag. So as the oven's heating up a little bit, we're going to shape these.
Okay.
What was the typical shape that this would be?
All right, so my grandmother made them really in two distinct shapes. The first one is the round shape, which we're going to make today, and then she always made a second version of the cookie with walnuts in it. For people, I don't like nuts, so that you knew which ones they were when you were little. The rounded ones were the ones that were just chocolate, and the ones that were long and thin were the ones that had the nuts in
So
them.
the kids knew not to eat the nut
Not
ones.
to eat the
that
nut
was
ones.
for someone else.
That's it, and I'm
Gotcha.
still like that. So we're not even. You can make them put nuts in them if you want, but we're not going to make
Whatever
nuts.
kind of nuts you want to put in them.
So, all right, so it really doesn't matter what shape you put them in. You can have fun with them. The thing that they're going to do is we're going to make sure we have the right width, and they're going to have a tendency to cook upwards.
Do you ball them, or do you?
I do, and then I make sure that I just do them with my finger, and then we're going to put a thumbprint on the top, just a small one to make sure that we have a little bit of.
And is that to hold the icing?
Yeah, we want to make sure there's a little bit of a pool to hold the icing, and then they'll cook upward from there. So that's about what the shape is going to look like. I might have made that a little bit big. Unfortunately, that's better. Yours
Well, I mean, I've done
your
this
shape
once or
is better
twice.
than mine.
Not this cookie, but you don't need to redo
That
that.
to be perfect. So, here we go.
What's the name of this cookie again?
You know what? There really is no name, but for today, I'm going to call it Nunny's. That was my grandmother's name. We called her Nunny.
Right.
Nunny's Christmas cookie. So,
Excellent.
how about, does that sound all right?
That looks perfect.
So there you go. So
I'm sure she'd be proud.
yeah. Well, the smaller they are, the more there are. So that's the one good thing.
So you want to
about
make
me.
them smaller so you can have lots of them.
Yeah, because you have lots of grandkids, lots of kids fighting. Everybody wants to make sure that they make sure they get some. So I'm gonna make a couple of the longer, thinner ones. Okay. And
Okay.
just so that
You can see what the shape would be.
So if you did have the walnuts, you could in fact you would know in fact how that would work.
And you would still press on the top like that.
Yeah, just a little bit on top so that there's a nice cavity to get the icing in, because the icing
That's the best part, right?
That's no question. and my grandmother would make multiple colors and flavors, and they really just kind of are part of the Christmas time.
She would make different colors.
Yeah, so the icing would have different,
The icing would have what color? Like
yeah,
typical Italian colors, or
we would have just your typical Christmas colors. So you'd have
Red and green.
red, green, and then maybe she'd mix something else in every once in a while, maybe a blue. In fact, there always was a blue, so couldn't
that would
tell you
probably
why.
look great, like stunning against the chocolate.
Yeah.
You know, more so than like a normal white cookie, so to speak.
That's it.
So, you have children?
I have two.
Have they made these cookies yet?
No, my son has. My son's 8 years old. My daughter's only, she'll be 4 months next week, so she hasn't had a chance to do that
next
yet.
month.
Yeah, next
When
month.
does she start making them?
We're gonna get it's a family recipe. They gotta get started early.
That's right. You got to pass them down.
So, yeah, your technique is much better than mine. I will say that.
Well, let me try one of those long ones and see if
I bet you're. Keep track of it.
I've never made a long cookie before, so let's see how that works.
You know, you can do whatever you want with them. You don't
Other
have to
than
worry about being
biscotti.
perfect. That's it.
Although I'm pronouncing it wrong, I'm sure, right? Yeah, I think your longer one looks a little bit better than mine.
There we go. That was on.
There we go.
All right,
So we would obviously we would finish these out.
Yep.
Why don't we go ahead and put these in the oven?
Okay.
It should be up to temperature by now. Have to wait for the shelf to come up.
Wow.
These shelves actually rotate inside the oven.
Oh, really?
So I don't know how well you can see in there, but it's pretty big. I can hold 20 full sheet pans in there
Wow.
at a time.
Yeah, my oven doesn't do that either.
Not so much, right? Okay, so now we're gonna get ready to do the icing. Coach, what do we got here?
All right, so it's a simple icing.
Oh, by the way, I did notice that you had to call your mother.
I did. I cheated.
This really is a family recipe.
Yeah.
You had to make sure you're doing it right.
I ran off set and called my mother just to make sure I was, I want to represent the family well. And she basically said it's a simple icing, but there are no measurements. So
of course,
what we're going to do is we're going to take some sugar, some milk, a little bit of vanilla, and some butter, and we're going to mix those together until they have the right consistency. We don't want it to be too runny. We want it to be just a nice thick icing. So we're going to play it by ear, and then finally a little food coloring to give it the right color.
Some Temple Red.
Temple Red. There you go. So we have our butter. All right.
I don't know how much you want to put in there. Probably most of it.
Yeah, we're just gonna.
I'm guessing.
Yeah. I found in making this cookie that too much sugar is never a problem. So.
No, I can't imagine it would be. Especially if the kids would like that.
What do you think? Look all right to
It
you?
looks good to me.
All right. I'm gonna take some milk. Let's just go ahead.
I wouldn't put too much milk in there probably, because you can add more of that later if you need to.
And then take the vanilla. All right, and then we're just gonna go ahead and
start whipping that together.
Yeah.
I will tell you, if you're doing this process and it's getting a little too runny, which this might be the case right here, what we can do is add a little more powdered sugar to that, and we can thicken it back up to the consistency we're looking for. I think we need to check on the cookies real quick and see how they're doing.
All righty.
Oh, wrong side. Does that look about what you remember them to look like?
Yeah, that was fantastic. Wonderful.
Gets that nice little crack on there.
Yeah.
Still feels a little soft, which is good, right? You don't want it too hard of a cookie.
No, not at all.
All right, so we're gonna set that aside.
Okay.
Let that cool a little bit when we finish this icing. Like I said, it looks to me like that might need a little more powdered sugar.
Yep, I went a little heavy on the milk.
The milk is hard to judge because powdered sugar disappears as soon as you start adding liquid to it. Also, if you're doing this at home, depending on how much color you want to put in it, that's going to affect your icing as well, because most food coloring that you use at home is going to be a liquid. Today we're using a liquid gel. It's really not going to affect it quite as much. So when we get the consistency we're looking for, we can do that. Do you want it a little thicker? Or?
Yeah, a little thicker.
I'm just thinking the same thing. It's like we're on the same page.
That's it. We'll just keep putting sugar in until we love it.
We'll just keep putting sugar in until it looks right.
Oh, gracious. Boy, does that look good.
Is it starting to look a little bit more like you remember?
That's it. Starting to thicken up now.
Now, typically you wouldn't put this on while it's still hot.
No, we would let the cookies cool because we don't want the icing to
It'll just run right off, right?
That's it. And one of the things about these cookies is, I know my little Italian grandmother, like most, didn't believe the cookies had their full flavor until about 3 days later. So
Right.
which is kind of universal. But one thing my grandmother did was she wouldn't leave them in the house. All these cookies would be outside in Tupperware, out on the porch, so that the cold winter would harden them up. And it was hard to wait that long, and I don't wait that long anymore now that she
you don't have to.
Yeah, God rest her soul. But
the joy of being an adult.
There's still something about them being really cold. That's awesome. So this is about the right consistency.
That looks about
now.
right.
So.
Yeah, I swear the grandmothers made up that rule because they wanted to be able to start baking cookies for Christmas a month ahead of time, right? Oh no, you can't have them yet.
All right, so I'm not familiar with this.
Yeah, just put a couple. That's probably enough.
Yeah, so
depending on how bright you want this.
Yeah, I want it bright. I want it to pop.
Oh, you really want it?
Yeah, I want when people walk in the room, I want them to feel Christmas. You know, and this is like a temple Christmas right here. So,
you know, a trick that we can do here if you like.
Please.
Well, no, keep stirring.
Oh, jeez, this is starting to get hard.
One thing I do, I do this for the temple tea cookies, and anytime I want a darker red, more like a temple red, add a little cocoa powder to it.
Oh, wow.
And what will happen is the chocolate will darken the red without using too much food coloring.
I like that.
It doesn't, hurt the flavor either.
Yeah. That's good. The old temple tea. I love your temple tea cookie. It's always a favorite of mine.
Thank you. Is that getting closer to what you're looking for?
To the point. This is like a workout right now.
And that's coming from you. I mean, you should be working out every day, right?
Yeah.
Or you just make the football players work out.
Yeah, I should be working out every day. Is very well said.
See how it keeps it from getting a pinkish hue. It makes it a little more deeper red when you do that. Hopefully, Nani.
Yep.
Hopefully she's not upset about this.
No, I think she would love that.
Okay, so now that we've had these cookies are out, they're cooling. They should be pretty cool now. We're gonna finish these puppies off. You're gonna show me what we're gonna do with this?
Yeah, we're gonna ice them. I think one of the things you want to see is that there's the different types of and shapes of the cookies. And I'm just going to go ahead and say this on record. The way you did it, where you didn't push down like I did, is more like what my grandmother would have done. So if you push down on them like I did, you'll get a flatter, thinner cookie. And these that you put in, you didn't push down, are really, truly the essence of how she would have.
I think that might affect the texture at the end. Maybe the flatter cookie might be a little crispier, I would assume.
Well, we're going to see. I'm going to eat them all and try it, so I'll let you know. All right, so we just want to take a spoonful of icing, and we literally just want to put just a little bit on top. Okay? Just enough. Give the cookies some color. And again, now, typically we wouldn't eat these. If it runs down, it doesn't matter. I mean, we wouldn't eat these for, a couple days, so it would be okay.
The icing will harden up by then.
The icing will harden up in the cold weather, or just in the refrigerator, or just sitting there. So we're just going to leave a little bit on top of each one. And again, just one. It's a smaller cookie. It's a little baby cookie, so we won't do quite as much. And that's it, Dave.
A little bit less. Yeah, let me give you a hand there. It looks like we're going to be here all day. I mean,
so you can see mine. I don't have quite as gentle of a hand as you do. So flatter cookies.
They get more icing then, right?
Yeah. Flatter cookies. And again, that nice cherry temple color looks great on these. So.
They really do. Would you typically there'd be just one color on each one, or would you then stripe them or do whatever you want?
No, we would make a couple different batches of icing. So there'd be half the sheet would be green, half the sheet would be red, maybe some blue. Whatever your favorite colors are, we would make.
This is quite a treat for you, getting it in the summertime.
Yep. And you can absolutely tell which ones I did and which ones you look at the difference between mine and yours.
Well, I mean, it's sad a little bit. I mean, give mine. Look at that. I think I did that one.
No,
too.
I think I did that one.
I don't.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
And then the long ones, they would. Yeah. The same thing, just.
Yeah, right down the middle. That's
right down the middle, like a hot dog with some ketchup.
Yeah. So you can have some fun with this, but again, now you can see the color that you bring into the room and bring to the table, and.
I bet they look great on the Christmas trays.
They look beautiful. So that right there, that's the perfect Christmas cookie right there. And I wish I could say I did that one, but you did it. But all of them are going to taste the same and be wonderful.
I guess it's time to see if
you have the perfect one. I'd feel better if you had the perfect one. All right. I'm going to have one of the ones that I made.
The full experience here, right?
Yep. There we go.
Cheers.
Manja. Fantastic.
That's awesome. Very brownie-like. Very rich. I'm loving this.
Again, with the whiskey or with the brandy, whatever my grandmother put in it.
That
a
wouldn't
little bit
hurt it.
hard. No, it would have been a little bit harder, a little bit denser, but they're wonderful. And they'll get better as the days go on.
That'd be fantastic. I might have to steal this recipe and make them for the students here.
Please, please, please.
Well, I appreciate you coming
Oh,
by.
thank you so much.
Thanks again. This is
Yeah,
awesome. I
that's been
love
great.
this recipe.
Well, I appreciate you having. I'm gonna take these with me, right?
Yeah,
All right.
absolutely.
All right.
Just bring back the sheet pan.
All right, you enjoy.
Thank you for joining us today on Baker Day Presents, and a special thanks to Coach Matt Rhule and his grandmother for these delicious cookies. Join us again next time on Baker Day Presents.